How you doing tonight, Ken?
Ankle really bad.
I'm doing fine. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing okay. Doing okay. Well, I tell you what, today I made some adjustments on my end-fed antenna.
Yeah.
And I was on 17 meters. And let me tell you what, it was totally covered up. And I got probably 8 or 9 European countries back to back to back to back.
Yeah, man, that's fun when you do that.
Oh man, 17 was busy, and I'm talking, I didn't get off till after 3 o'clock, and it was still covered up.
Yeah.
Which is odd for 17.
Well, I've had pretty good luck on 17, and also 15's been doing good lately.
Oh, I've seen your post on Discord for 50.
Yeah.
But you've also got that what do you call it, unipole or?
Yeah, it's a folded unipole. That thing is the best antenna I've used in 60+ years of being a ham operator.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder to build than other antennas, but it works on many bands and it works well on many bands.
Right. Yeah. Right. Well, I could tell it's working good for you on 15.
Yeah. I've been working
12 and 15.
Huh?
12 and 15.
Yeah.
But I was totally covered up on 17 today. It was real busy.
17 is a good band.
Yeah, it was working beautiful today.
Well,
I'm gonna let you talk, man, and I'm gonna mute this.
all right. Talk to you later.
Hi, Ken.
Hello, Bill.
Been working on antenna today.
Yeah, today was a good day for it.
Story of my life, working on antenna.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I never dreamed it would be such a job putting that thing up.
Yeah. It's pretty hard when you're doing it by yourself.
Well, I've got a guy that comes and helps me. He's pretty good. I mean, he didn't know anything about, radio or antennas, but he's really good mechanical guy. He knows about concrete and forms and trenching and laying pipe.
Sounds like a good guy to know.
Very good. I have to pay him, but he's worth it.
Yeah.
I feel like I always get my money's worth out of him.
You can't expect someone to do their time and work for nothing. So.
No, I mean, that's what he does. He takes care of my sister-in-law next door and 10 acres and our 10 acres.
Yeah.
And then he actually works full-time or is on the full-time payroll of a doctor here in town. He takes care of all their stuff. So he's a pretty busy guy, but he finds time to come help me, and I'm happy that he does. I couldn't do it by myself. I just don't have the energy anymore.
You get the top section on that tower?
It's ready to just plug in. The rotator's on, the mast is in. I finished up the adapter that I needed to adapt that mast to the hex beam.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so I could bolt if I haven't put the hex beam together yet, completely. I've done all that I could do inside the building.
Yes.
But it should go pretty quick from here because I've already cut all the cords to length and got all the arms adjusted to the right length and the clamps on, and so it's just a matter of really reclamping.
I've worked a lot of stations in Europe that's using hex beams.
That's I guess it's becoming a really popular antenna.
It's an easy antenna. It doesn't have a lot of wind resistance, and it's a lot lighter weight than big old Yagi.
Yeah, it is lightweight, 25 pounds.
Yeah.
Of course, it probably doesn't have as much gain as a big old Yagi, but
no, it doesn't. But it's got 6 dB gain. Is that right?
5, I think.
5. Hello, Mike.
Howdy.
Hey, Mike, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. Can't remember what shirt I got on. Oh, it's my fishing shirt.
Hey, it's gonna be fishing season here before long.
Yep, the water would warm up a little bit. I think it'd be better.
Yeah.
The temperature outside was beautiful today.
Oh yeah,
It
I was outside some.
Well, sadly, all I did outside was go out to get the mail. Well, I played around a little bit with JS8 call.
Yeah. What is your reason for trying that out? You wanting to just try it out for the heck of it, or is there anybody on there using that mode?
There were a few on there. There were more on it Sunday. So I imagine, it's going to be hard to find people during the week.
Yeah.
What I wanted to do with it was be able to chase 10-10 numbers on 10 meters.
Yeah.
Because you can send other messages back and forth.
Yeah.
Did you say JS8? Is that right?
Yeah, JS8 call. It's basically WJST, WXJT on steroids.
Yeah, WXJT. They took the basic part of that and rewrote it a little bit, but you can send messages with it. It's not just sending call signs and signal reports. You can actually type in a message.
I'm on 20 meters right now, and there are two guys right now with heartbeats showing. That just means they're basically idle.
So what's the transmission time? Is it?
It's 12 and a half seconds, and then it takes a 2.5 second break.
Yeah.
So it's
basically 15 seconds like FT8.
Yeah. However, it doesn't have a 15 on, 15 off.
Yeah.
It's only has it's 12 and a half on, 2.5 off, or however that comes to 15 seconds.
Yeah.
And so you're using your transmitter a lot more.
Yeah. Well, not much.
Well, no.
2.5 seconds.
Yeah, I'm only running 50 watts right now, but I don't think my ALC meter's not moving, and I don't think something's right in my software. I don't know if I can be heard.
You don't want your ALC meter to be moving, just barely.
Well,
you want your ALC notice to just barely move enough to know that you have that much audio drive.
Yeah. Well,
if you have enough audio to drive your ALC, you're overdriving it and could cause distortion.
All right. Well, I'm hearing stuff when I transmit. Let me see if you guys can hear this. Is that loud enough?
I can't hear it, Mike.
I'll turn it up a little.
Well, I'm hearing my FT8 on the other side of the room. Let me go turn mine down. I'm monitoring 40 meters FT8 right now. I need two more countries on 40 meters.
Yeah.
To have my 100, and having a hard time getting them. I've got them, but them guys haven't confirmed it yet.
Oh, okay. Here goes one more time.
Okay. Yeah, that's plenty loud. That's a short burst.
What'd you say?
I said that was real loud, but it was a short burst.
Yeah, about a 2-second burst.
Yeah, that's not.
You only heard it for 2 seconds?
Yeah.
Well, maybe my audio filter is thinking it's noise and it's muting it out. But it lasted over 10 seconds. Anyway, that's what it sounds like on my other radio
Yeah.
that's sitting here. And but I'm not getting any responses from my CQs.
Well, what band are you trying it on, Mike?
I'm on 20 meters.
Oh, yeah, that ought to be a good band.
Yeah, I figured there'd be a lot of folks on it. And there are a few. Let's see, there's a KI7 station and a KE6 station.
So what frequency are they on?
It's 14.078. They're just above
078.
FT8.
Yeah, it's 074 on FT8.
Yeah.
And they're on 078.
Yep. Sometimes if your graph is big enough, you could see them.
See them both.
The graph.
Mm-hmm.
And there'll be it's a wider signal than FT8.
FT8 signal is 50 hertz wide.
Yeah.
So is that signal twice as wide, or?
I believe it's 100. Yeah. I believe it's 100 hertz.
50 hertz. That's all. FT8's only 50 hertz.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Good
that.
grief.
See, you see, Bill, you put 100 watts into a 50 hertz wide signal. You can see how it'll penetrate the noise.
Yeah.
And I used to do JT9, and JT9 was my favorite mode. And the bandwidth of JT9 is 6 hertz wide.
Oh,
Can you
Good
believe
grief.
that?
It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
that was
I mean,
pretty
even that you're
Yeah, and that's what we used on 630 meters. That's what I used to work Australia on 630 meters.
wow.
Was JT9.
Huh. That's truly amazing.
Yes, it is.
I'm surprised that the transmitter will even get down that narrow, you know, that,
Well, it's an audio bandwidth.
oh, okay. So that's not the RF bandwidth. There's,
It's suppressed carrier, so there's no carrier.
right.
And if you
But it would be-
modulate, so if you modulate it with 6 hertz, that's what's transmitted, 6 hertz wide bandwidth. So it's tones. It's only 6 hertz wide.
Okay. Man, that you could stack a lot of those into a,
Yeah, that's the point. You can you don't use as much bandwidth. Just stop and think a SSB signal. They consider it 3,000 hertz, 3 kilohertz. Normally, it's only about 2.8 kilohertz, but just think 2,800 hertz. How many of these 50 hertz FT8 signals you can put in the bandwidth of one SSB transmission?
yeah.
So that's why it works so good.
And I guess there's still a few people that are using AM, right? That's really
Yeah.
what broadband.
Yeah. Yeah, it's 6 kilohertz wide, twice of a SSB signal.
I don't guess there's many people on AM anymore though, really, is there?
I don't know. There's still a few diehards.
There's
And
a few
and they have-
AMers clubs.
Yeah, and they have super audio, like broadcast quality audio, so they're probably wider than 6 kilohertz. They're trying to make it sound like a broadcast station. That's not what communication is, as far as I'm concerned.
No, there's there's no reason for that I can fathom.
If you want higher fidelity, you ought to go to FM.
Yeah.
There's a upper part of 10-meter band. You can operate FM. Matter of fact, one time I worked through a FM repeater in Puerto Rico on 10 meters.
Through their repeater?
Through
Really?
the repeater, yeah.
Wow. That's got to be kind of an unusual thing.
Yeah. That's been 100 years ago.
In a former lifetime, huh?
Yeah. Well, I'll be glad when you get on there, Bill, so you can work some of this good DX that Mike's been working.
I haven't worked anybody today.
Yeah, you've been playing with that other mode all day.
Yeah.
The Zoom is muted. Yeah, I got it.
Hello, how you guys doing?
You don't look like Mark Klein.
Well, I'm getting there.
It'll be a while longer.
He's over there starting out the training.
Yeah. So you decided to make the long drive tonight, huh?
Turn that off. I'll turn this one on. Make it no, because then they can. That's when the room. That's true.
Yeah, that's working pretty good there, Sam.
So yeah, this one works. It didn't pick up the whole room. So I got my Dr. Guino stuff.
Oh.
And I didn't know that this wasn't all assembled. You know, in the pictures they show these test boards with all these LEDs, and what I got was a box with all these parts. And so I haven't done anything with it. I was really excited. I was going to start, programming and see if I could make the lights flash and stuff.
See, you should have bought that in December because that's a wintertime project.
Yeah, well, it may not be done with us here yet. You never know. But, the other thing is, from the minute you order, you start getting emails wanting you to buy something else, wanting you to take a course. It's almost annoying.
So I thought that you got their course when you ordered that they were running a special so that you got the free course.
Well, there's supposed to be this free crash course, and they send you this email that says click here for the free crash course, and you click and this website opens up, and I'm yet to figure out where on that website. It's wanting you to buy this $17 a month package, 17 a month, but I never found the actual free course that link is supposed to take you to. And I'm getting ready to email them about that. So where is this thing? Still excited about doing it. It's just that whole marketing thing is, you got to wade through all this stuff, all this, they want more money before you get to anything. So I did find this cheat sheet, they call it. It's got all this programming tips in PDF.
So, is that programming language C++? C++?
I think so. It looks really familiar to me. I mean, even goes back to BASIC. Back years ago, when I did programming in BASIC. It looks a lot like it.
So what are you going to do with it?
Oh, I don't know for sure. This guy here. Let's, what? Hello.
Hey, what do you say, Ken?
This is the Arduino guy.
Yeah.
I won't go. I'm a, what?
Talk to that. I can't hear you.
What's the question? I can't
You're the
really hear it.
Arduino guy.
Uh-huh. Well, I play with it, but I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Got a lot to learn, but
Well, that guy that talked at the club meeting the other night really got me interested again in getting into those little computers and see how everything from a rotor viewer antenna and there's books and books and books, websites and websites and websites, and different things.
Point. One of the things you can do is get Tinkercad, and Tinkercad has an Arduino simulator, and you could build circuits on Tinkercad and run the script and sketch and test it all out without ever having to plug anything in. And it's worth the effort.
Yeah, I got an email about that today. I remember the Tinkercad I got.
Sounds like a fun project.
Sorry.
Sounds like a fun project.
Yeah, I think there's tons of things you can do with it. There's, you can get everything from temperature probes, all sorts of sensors, stuff. Just whatever you want to do, light up lights.
Buy the kit, buy the $29 starter kit, the Lego starter kit. You get an Uno, R3, and all kinds of sensors to play with, and LEDs and the whole everything. It's hard to beat the deal. It's around $30 on Amazon. You have enough stuff to have a good time with all that.
And we do have rainy days.
I don't believe that mic that you're holding is working.
I don't think so either.
The mic that's working is coming from somewhere else.
I think it's this one here.
What's that?
Trying to figure out the microphone. They don't think it's this one. Well, they say they don't think this is the one.
No, when you,
What's that? Does that say on?
Yeah.
That is muted right there. No, it's not muted.
I'm not sure it's working either.
no, it's not working.
Little
I don't
green.
think anything changed.
I think the battery's dead.
We can hear you, but it's coming from some other mic.
And you're not real loud either.
You get a real microphone over here. It's a hard wire.
I think the battery's dead on this one.
Somebody probably left it on.
See what- 9 volt.
It's like a room mic that's on, because I can hear quite a,
Do the universal test.
Yeah, we can hear a lot of noise from the room.
I don't do it.
Yeah, put it on your time, Sam.
32 minutes to get here today.
That's not bad.
No, he's got it figured out. Gets him here a little late. He's not here right at 6:30, but he doesn't spend the hour and a half I spent on the road.
Yeah,
30 minutes, 32 minutes.
that's good. How many,
32 minutes.
how many miles is that, Ken?
35.
You've been speeding.
Yeah, and a lot of that was on pin.
No,
65 miles.
no, it never slowed down. I only hit the brakes once on the turnpike, on the interstate, to slow down for traffic, and it slowed down to about 40 for about 10 seconds. And then it was back up to nearly 70 the whole time, even in more.
Well, I did the Shields cut off today off 240 instead of going on up to the junction. And
That's a good way to go.
yeah, time the Shields came in, I just merged right in and went going 50 miles an hour.
I like that route. But I found that I can go around to the 235 and get on 235 and just get in my lane and stay in it. And yeah, once in a while we slow down, but not always. Rarely that we stop all the way. Most of the time.
Most of the traffic is headed south toward Lawton. When you get to that, where 44 goes off.
Yeah.
And suddenly there's no traffic after that.
It was a good ride.
I'm glad you. So I'm gonna have to go over here. I'm gonna go over here and check and see what's going on. I don't know if you can see.
All right, Sam.
I don't know what they're setting up on this table back here, but I saw a Collins.
$400 deal, all that stuff.
Okay.
Be
Whole
sure
bunch
and
of
mute
stuff
that
for
thing.
$400.
An SB201, a
Yeah.
good radio.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
SB 201. Yeah.
Yeah. All good, all working.
Is that a
Yeah.
Collins?
Man,
I don't know what the radio is.
No, man.
The amp is a Heathkit. It's a Heathkit SB201.
yeah. Looks kind of like a Collins.
Is that an amplifier,
Oh, it's a transceiver.
transceiver?
Old Heathkit.
A Yaesu 101 FD.
Oh, that's
No,
different.
ZD.
That's a different story then.
ZD.
Yeah.
But the amp itself is worth a couple hundred, $300, $400, and it works.
What's the amp?
It's a 1,000 watt, a 1K. It's a 1 kW Heathkit in pristine condition. In fact, the radio is as well. Just spotless clean.
So you have a radio, you have a transceiver and an amplifier both?
Pardon?
You have a transceiver and an amplifier?
Yeah. You've got the transceiver, an amplifier, tuner, keyer, and there's something else over there. I'm not sure what it is. I haven't looked at it all yet. But it's a heck of a deal. All functional, all working.
Who bought it?
Pardon?
Who purchased it?
Bob's brother. And they were asking about it over the last couple of weeks. Yeah.
Together, and take it home, and
Yeah,
everything's out of the way of the sand now.
that's a good buy. If you said 400,
400, yeah, that's a great buy.
yeah,
Put your name on it, Ken?
I don't need it.
It's not for sale, I don't think.
Oh, he just bought it.
He just bought it.
Oh, okay.
Not for sale. Oh, well.
The leads go into the circuit board, and the heated portion of the transistor.
Well, I'm getting a little saltier on Tinkercad.
Than I did because problem is the fan.
Talk to you soon, guys.
All right, mute it.
Electrical tape was pushing up against it.
Yeah, that quietened things down.
Yeah, I did.
I think only the room mic was working down there. That
Yeah.
handheld wasn't working.
Yeah, it didn't make any difference when they moved it closer to Ken.
No. No, in fact, you could hear Ken better than you could Sam.
I could too, yeah. I didn't ever catch who bought all of that equipment, did you?
Not exactly. I wonder what it was, an estate sale or what?
I don't know.
What'd they say? Which amplifier was it? The
It was a Heathkit SB 201.
Is that 1,000 watt or is that a?
Yeah. It's called 1,000 watt. You don't run it that much, but about 800 watts on the 80 meters and less on 10. I had one years ago.
A heat kit?
Yeah.
Didn't like it or just moved on to something different or?
Well, it's a tube type and I went to solid state.
Yeah. Yeah, that's understandable. Do you have an amplifier now that you ever use or?
Nope. Don't need it on digital mode.
So you got rid of your amp or just don't
Yeah,
use it?
the last the last big HF amp that I had was a Yaesu 1,000-watt solid state. And I sold it to a guy that lives on Monkey Island. I bet you don't know where that's at.
No, I don't guess I do.
It's on the north end of the lake, the lakes up in northeast of Tulsa.
Oh,
It's a little island up there. You can't hardly tell it's an island. It's got a
So
little
where-
airport on it, and
where do you find the ads and things for used equipment?
QTH. It's got QTH.com. It's got some stuff. Where do you look, Mike? Your lips are moving.
My lips were moving, but you couldn't hear me. Mostly QRZ or eBay. I've had a few purchases on eBay, nothing I had to send back yet.
QTH would be a safer bet, probably. You looking for an amplifier, Bill?
Oh, I might be one someday.
Yeah.
I've been kind of getting familiar with what's out there and what the costs are.
Yeah. If I ever buy another amplifier, I'm going to buy an Elecraft. They make a 500-watt one that would be good enough for me to go with my K3. It'll work with other transceivers, but they make a 1,500-watt one too, but I don't need that much power. I don't really need an amplifier.
Not on FTA apparently.
Mm-mm.
You'd said you'd been working FTA today, Ken?
Not so much today. I did quite a bit yesterday. I worked outside a little bit today, so I didn't do too much, but I worked quite a bit of stuff yesterday all over Europe on 12, 15, and 30 meters. Fairly good. I got on 30 meters yesterday. I worked Hungary, Balearic Island, and Germany, and Liechtenstein, and they all confirmed
Wow, good.
on Logbook of the World. And I got two of them was new countries on 30 meters. I don't remember which two it was. So I added two more to my score on 30 meters. And 30 meters is not one of the bands for 5-band DXCC. But on 30 meters, I've got 94 countries. So I'm getting close to having 100 anyway. I've got 98 countries on 40 meters. I need two more, and I worked them yesterday, but they haven't confirmed. And the two that I worked was Scotland and Switzerland, and neither one of them's confirmed. If I get them two confirmed, I'll have 100 countries on 40 meters.
What antenna do you use on 30 meters? Your 40
I
meter?
use my Unipole. It's a 80-meter Unipole antenna. It's a 30-foot vertical with 4 drop wires and some top loading on it to get it down to 80 meters. There's a picture of it on my website. It's my design. It's what AM broadcast stations used back in the 50s. And I designed one for ham bands.
Wow.
And the good thing about it is it doesn't take up a lot of real estate, and you don't have to have a absorbent ground system on it. It's only got 8 ground radials, and they're about 33 feet long, something like that.
How tall is the pole?
It's 30 foot.
30 foot.
It's made out of a 30-foot section of 4-inch diameter irrigation tubing.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Wish I could get some more of that stuff, man. That really makes good antennas.
Well, if you could find a farmer that use that type of irrigation, you might
Yeah,
pick
there's
up.
there's probably thousands of feet of that stuff laying beside a fence row somewhere not being used.
Oh, I'm sure.
And the stuff that I've got, a ham gave it to me, and he raised cattle, and he had one of these big long trailers that you haul him round bales of hay in.
Yep.
And I kind of indicated to him that I'd like to have some of that stuff if he ever came across it. So one day he came over here with several sticks of that on his trailer and gave them to me. And I've used them for a lot of things. I've still got a few sticks left, but I have to keep them for the gin pole. If I ever have to take that 60-foot one down and put it back up, I need at least one of those for a gin pole.
The one that you have up, is it, do you have guy wires on it, or is it self-supporting?
No, they're both self-supporting. I mean, they both have guy wires. I have a 60-footer that I used on 630 meters and 2200 meters. And then I have this other one that's just a single 30-foot section that I made the unipole antenna out of. And the unipole antenna, it works on everything from 80 to 10 meters, except 20 meters. The SWR is about 3 to 1, so I don't use it there. It's too high for me.
Well, you know what that is? That's rotator cable coming into the
Right. I was going to say it looked like a piece of coax. But
well, there's a piece of coax down here too. It's just not long, sticking out far enough that I can
Yeah.
show it to you.
hey, you made some progress there.
Yeah, in that top section of the third section I got worked out okay, although I did have to drill the holes out a little bit for the rotator plate and shift it off to the side just a little bit to get it to better align in the bushing at the top, but it's okay.
Yeah.
And then I put a couple of grease zerks in that big bushing up at the top.
Oh, so you drilled and tapped it?
No, it had a couple of drilled and tapped holes where they'd welded a nut on, and the idea was that you'd clamp a piece of pipe in it rather than rotate a piece of pipe, you know. So they were there, and I just took the bolts out and put grease zerks on it.
Right sized hole, right sized thread?
Yeah, the guy that was working with me, he does a lot of work on tractors, and he has a lot of stuff. And he went down through his stuff and found 2 grease zerks screwed right in there.
Wow.
And they were like, I think they're probably 3/8 inch bolts. So that's big for a grease zerk, but
that's a big grease zerk. Yeah.
yeah, it is. But he found a couple, probably something that came off of a bulldozer or something, because he used to work on bulldozers a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But he found 2 that screwed right into those holes. I was looking at making some kind of taking a brass fitting and making an adapter, you know, something, a 3/8 thread on the outside, and then I could drill and tap or grease zerk. But he came up with those, and that made it a lot easier.
Yeah.
A lot easier than what I was planning to do there.
Saved a little bit of time too, didn't it?
Yeah, sure did. I don't know, won't hurt to have a little grease in there anyway.
Yeah, good idea.
I did have some water in my 2-inch pipe though. I hooked my big shop vac to it and let it run for a while, and I sucked some water out of there.
Hmm. Well, how did it get in?
Well, that's a good question. I don't know.
Where it comes out of the ground, does it do 180 out there?
It doesn't do 180, but I had it taped over with tape, with the duct tape. I don't think it leaked in there.
Yeah.
We didn't have any heavy rain or anything. It could have got in the other end. The other end was kind of down on the ground. It's up under the eave of the house, but it could have got in that end.
Yeah, we had all that snow
Yeah.
and sleet. Could have got some there and melted and run in.
I hooked the big shop vac to it and let it run for a while, and
Yeah.
I sucked most of it in, or out rather, up at the house where it wasn't hooked up to the box yet.
Yeah.
We got that done today. We got the box thoroughly mounted.
Mm-hmm.
Had to use some different mounts, and the pipe, the last 90 on the pipe running up to the bottom of the box.
Mm-hmm.
So coax and everything is
Sealed
in the
now.
box now. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. So at the other end, are you going to do 180? You come out of the ground and do 180.
Well, I've got a 90 on it right now.
Need another 90 on there.
Yeah, I can put another 90. I was kind of waiting till I got the coax pulled and positioned.
Yeah, well, you don't glue it. You just,
Oh, really? Just slip it on?
yeah. If it's not underground, you don't need to glue it.
Okay.
It won't leak. And then you can make it a lot easier when you pull coax, not to have to go through.
Yeah, just take it loose there and
Yeah.
Bill,
Yeah.
just think of it like a rain hat.
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. You got to have a 180 out there.
Well, it'll be pretty easy to put on there because the 90 comes up high enough to put the 180
Yeah.
on there.
Put another one on there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Or the straight piece coming up out of the ground comes up high enough, then I've got a 90 on that. So
Yeah.
putting another 90 on would be
Put
easy.
another 90 and water can't get in. And then stick some steel wool up in the hole so varmint won't go in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I've got enough rope in there that I can pull it to one end, and then, I've got twice the length of rope that I have pipe,
Yes.
so I can pull it back and forth
Mm-hmm.
to add coax. I just don't know what to do with all that extra rope's gonna, I guess, just get tied up out at the base of the tower.
Yeah. Well, I've got mine in the house behind the desk back there with all the other coax. The extra. Mine's twice as long also.
Yeah, that'll make it easy to add some coax for sure.
Yeah.
Sure hated to see that water in there, but
Yeah.
I'll put the vacuum on it tomorrow and just let it run for a couple of hours and
Yeah.
See if I can't get it dried out.
That vacuum produces some heat.
Yeah, I'm sucking rather than blowing, but
Yeah, oh yeah.
it
Hey.
does a pretty good job of pulling it out of there. You just let it run for a while.
Carl's got a picture of the back of my desk.
Is that what the back of your desk looks like?
Yeah, that looks pretty good, huh? Not quite that bad, but close.
That's a
Yeah,
lot of
that's
wires.
that's a lot of mess.
Yeah.
Where do you live, Carl?
Northwest of Norman on county land, out by the river.
Bill lives northwest part of Norman.
No, I live northeast.
Oh, yes, right, northeast. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm 4 miles east of the center of Norman. I'm on just off of 48,
Mhm.
east 48.
See, my daughter lives just off of 96.
Yeah, that's
That's east of you.
yeah, quite a bit. Another 4 miles?
Yeah. And she lives north, just south of 149.
Okay.
And I use a hex beam also.
Yeah,
Is that Carl speaking?
yeah.
Yes.
It is.
And you said you liked your hex, right?
Yeah, I use one.
Is that your main antenna or?
Yes, it is.
What do you use on the lower bands, Carl?
Well, I stop at 40. I've got a gap vertical that I use on 40, but that's as low as I go.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was going to pick up one of those HT 18s that DX Engineering had. And it was $1,000 last year. And I thought, well, that's it's worth it that much to me to not have to figure out all the stuff and build one myself and figure out all the logistics and the tuning and stuff would have been quite an effort and for a multi-band antenna. But basically it's just a tower that they drive with a stub.
Yep.
And anyway, so I decided that, that would be a pretty good radio or antenna to have. And this year, as of the first of the year, it doubled in price. It went from $1,000 to $2,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good grief.
I'd never pay that much. I'd build my own. You can't believe how cheap you can build an antenna, even though aluminum prices are high. Like I was telling Bill, buy some of that aluminum irrigation tubing, man. It's cheap. I bought some at a irrigation place north of El Reno one time, $1 a foot.
Yeah, that's probably gone up a lot though.
Thanks. Yeah, that's probably been 20 years ago. But it's still cheap because they're not using that aluminum irrigation tubing as much. Now they got plastic irrigation tubing that's flexible, and that's what they use now.
What?
That's on those.
How do they use it? The
They're-
aluminum,
They're just using it to carry water from one place to the other.
and so they just lay it out like a garden hose.
Yeah.
Because the aluminum tubing, they had it on big rotating
Yeah. wheels, but they had aluminum tubing going to that also. And now they're using plastic tubing to go to that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that used out in the panhandle of Texas.
Yeah. And
Wow.
the stuff that I have is 4-inch diameter, but they make 6-inch diameter and 8-inch diameter, some pretty big stuff.
Yeah, an 8-inch diameter, you could probably make a self-supporting antenna.
Yeah, and that large diameter radiator gives you a good bandwidth.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a lot better bandwidth. Even the 4-inch diameter that I'm using, I get, well, for instance, an 80-meter vertical would be 66 feet. But my 80-meter vertical is 60 feet because it's 4 inches in diameter, not the diameter of a piece of wire. So it
Wow.
makes it more broad-banded and doesn't have to be as long.
Huh.
Two pieces of that 30-foot tubing spliced together is 60 feet, and it's resonant at the low end of 80 meters.
And that has to be insulated at the bottom.
Yeah, and you can use insulator off of a power line pole. You can pick them up at swap meets everywhere.
Oh, really?
If you can't find one at swap meet, let me know and I'll give you one.
Okay.
When you say an insulator off a power line pole, what kind of insulator? What, there's a lot. What does it look like? Is it just, is it one of those cone shape or?
Yeah, I had 2 of them here and I gave them away not very long ago to John, our beer delivery guy.
What happened to John anyway? He used to be on here.
I talked to him the other day. He called me, Bill, and his mother passed away recently, and he has been out of town. He's back now, and he bought ICOM 7300 transceiver recently.
Oh, he did?
Mm-hmm.
Which John are we talking about?
Oh, what's his call sign?
It's Jon.
Yeah, his call sign is AC4CH. It's his dad's call sign. He's the one. He was on quite a bit for a while till we run him off, I guess.
Yeah, I was wondering why he just suddenly dropped off, but he said
Yeah, his mom passed away, and I think she lived in Albuquerque or someplace. So he's been out of town for a while.
he said he had a new job too. That
Yeah, and that he got promoted at his company, and I think he had a little more responsibility. He dropped by here a few times before he got promoted. After he got promoted, I guess he didn't get out this direction anymore.
Did he leave you a case of beer when he came by?
No, but I was hoping he would. I was hoping he'd be driving a beer truck, but he don't do the delivery part. I was going to tell my neighbors that I got on the route.
What did he do? Did he just supervise the drivers and that?
I think he went around and took the orders.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Went to different places and filled the orders, and then somebody else delivered it.
Yeah, delivering it would probably kind of a heavy back-breaking job.
Be a little bit harder than I'd want to do.
Be harder than I could do. I doubt I could lift a case of beer.
Yeah. I haven't drank a beer in years.
I never have been much of a beer drinker. I would occasionally, if I were at a picnic or something and that's what they had, I would be part of one, but I never really did care for it particularly.
I just don't have a glass of iced tea.
There you go.
Well, Carl, have you been doing any ham radio operating?
No, I haven't. I've been checking in at on the MacNet in the mornings. My mother got very, very ill a month or two ago, and so I have been spending a lot of time with her while she's recuperating.
Yeah.
I moved in with her for about 3 weeks to take care of her.
Yeah.
She's 92.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how old my mother was when she passed away. 92.
You got some good longevity genes there, Kim.
Yeah. So does Carl.
Yeah, she
absolutely.
seems to be doing a lot better now. So, but I think she's got depression, and it causes her to just not eat.
Yeah.
And I don't want to muck up the MacNet with a bunch of personal stories, so I'm gonna stop right there and get back to talking about
Ham radio.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're supposed to talk about.
So is that picture really the back of your bench or your rack of equipment, Carl?
No, that's just something I found on the
That's the
internet.
background. That's one name background.
Because
Okay.
it comes in handy when we're talking about stuff like what Ken was talking about.
Messy cables.
Yeah, and when we're talking about coax, I usually throw this one on there.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Lord have mercy. Where's that from? Thailand or?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think that it was an Asian company. I'm not sure if it's Thailand, but it very well could have been.
Well, it looks like that in Thailand. That's what you wouldn't believe the stuff they run from pole to pole. I mean, it just, you just shake your head and think, how in the world could anybody know where any of this starts and stops?
Yeah.
But that looks like a typical Thai operation there. It really does.
Whenever I was in the Air Force in Pope Air Force Base in North Carolina, I had this friend of mine that was in telephone maintenance, and I helped him trace out a pair that went from one side of the runway to the other. It went underground, and that cable had a lot of pairs in it, but it must have had water in there, because every once in a while he'd have to go find another pair that would work. And that thing had about 200 pairs in that cable. So he would be on one end, I'd be across the runway, and we'd try to find a working pair. That was kind of fun.
Yeah, on that picture, I wonder if they have any trouble with ground loops.
Yeah, I wonder if they have any trouble with cross contamination.
Yeah, you think there might be a little induction going on there?
Maybe a little.
I don't, it just seems impossible that anybody could make heads or tails of that mess. But that really does look like Thailand.
That much cable's got to be heavy.
Yep, absolutely. Trying to pull that pole over. So what modes, Carl, do you use most? Sideband, CW, or FT8, or?
Yeah, every sideband and FM.
Sideband on like 20 and 40, or?
Yeah, 6, 10, 12, 15, 20, 40, and of course FM on the UHF and VHF.
I worked a sideband station a day or two ago on 40 meters, Bill. You won't believe that. If John was here, he wouldn't believe it. But I was testing out my Hall headset, and I got on 40, and a couple of guys down in Texas were talking. I talked to them for a little bit. That's the first sideband contact I've probably made in 2 or 3 years.
Really?
Yeah.
Just got
I
tired of
think I've
talking to
still got-
people, huh?
You guys
still-
doubled.
I've still got 4 more countries to go using that hex beam on sideband to
Yeah.
get my DXCC.
Yeah, you're getting close. That's on all bands, huh?
Yeah,
Which X beam do you have, Carl?
KIO.
So
So
it
you've got the 6-meter element on yours then.
Yes,
goes 20 through 6.
yes.
Yeah, mine doesn't have a 6-meter element on it. It came from Dick's Engineering. KIO didn't, he didn't have any in stock and didn't know when he was going to. He said he couldn't get any fiberglass tubing. If we're talking about the same guy, the ham that builds them and sells them.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever his actual call sign it, K4 KIO. Is that it?
That sounds right.
He apparently builds a pretty good antenna. A lot of people will speak favorably, but this Dick's Engineering antenna is well built. I hope it works well. I guess it will.
I'm sure it will.
Yeah, in Oklahoma, it's probably more important on a hex beam to have the ice cords or ice braces so that it's whenever it gets weighted down with ice on the spreaders, that it doesn't cause them to flip upside down and break.
So are those ice spreaders, or is that just an additional cord that comes down from the top of the pole down to about the halfway point on the spreader?
Yes.
Okay, does it have a clamp on it there?
It
Like
just
a hose.
clamps on mine. On the KIO, it uses cords. Some of them use a bar that clamps onto it, but the KIO just uses the same type of a little S hook that connects to a hose clamp
Okay,
that
I could do
goes
that
on the
on mine.
spreader.
I've got plenty of they sent me 2 spools of that cord, so I've got plenty of cord. Although it's not part of the plans, I don't see, what would keep me from doing it, just like you're talking about.
Yeah, let me see if I've got a good picture. Okay, here's one that has ice on it. That this is not my antenna, but a couple of years ago, that is exactly how my antenna looked whenever it got a buildup of ice on it. And after it thawed out, it popped right back to where it looked just like that again.
All right. That had to make you feel good. So you
Yeah, here's a picture of one of mine that is mine with a bit of ice on it.
yeah, you can see the ice cords on that one.
Yeah.
Running.
What rotor do you use, Carl, to rotate that?
I've got a tail twister
Yeah. I got
2,
you. Mhm.
and I'm driving it with a what am I driving it with here? high gain DCU-3
Yeah,
digital. It
controller.
works real well.
Do
I've
you have-
actually got two of them set up here in the shop in the radio room, and one of them is just sitting under the desk. It's wired up, and I test it every so often before I put it outside. But I've got the cable hooked up to it and everything. And the one of these days, I'm going to get another couple towers put up and be able to have multiple rotators turning those antennas. But I've got a building that I needed to build first before I put up these other towers, and because they would be in the way with the construction crew on that building. And yeah, I don't know. That project just seems to keep getting further and further away.
Yeah, building costs have gone up now too.
Yeah, they sure have. Yeah, funny you should mention that, because the I was looking at some property, 66 acres out kind of southwest of Oklahoma City, way southwest. And I think the guy wanted like $4,500 an acre for it. And at the time, everything was selling for $3,000 to $3,500. And so I did not buy it, because I thought that, well, he'll have it for sale for a while. He won't be able to sell it at that price, and he'll come down on price. Well, he sold it. And now I kick myself every day for not buying that.
Yep.
And that same property that at $4,500 an acre now probably is a well over $1 million property,
Wow.
unimproved.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a lot of those hindsight deals.
Haven't we all?
Yeah.
And it was one of the highest elevations in Oklahoma. And it was kind of at the top of the peak of a hill. Oh yeah, it was such a nice location. And I looked at several different things, and one of them was that it would be a hill that would slope off all four directions. And this one sloped off all four directions, and some antennas on top of that, I think would have been really, really good.
Yeah. How much land was it? 67 acres, you said?
Yeah, about 66 and
Yeah.
more or less.
Quite a bit to take care of, but
Yeah,
not too bad if you have tractor and mower and everything you need to do it.
yeah, and I've got a backhoe, so I can do a lot of stuff. It's amazing what you can do with the backhoe. And
Yeah, you can even dig a ditch for your coax.
yep, that's right.
Or dig a hole to pour concrete in for the base of your tower.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's what I had to have done. Is guy kind of across the street, down a little bit, got a big backhoe. He used to do a lot of contracting, and he still got his backhoe, and he came over and took about 2 swipes, and I had the hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
But boy, that was some hard concrete like soil down there when you get down about, past about the 2-foot level. It just turned into like a rock. It was it was unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah, I can do in about 10 minutes what it takes me 2 days to do with a shovel.
well, my shoveling days are over, so it's gonna either have to be somebody with a backhoe or somebody else with a shovel.
Yeah, the last, well, not the last, but the last antenna tower that I put up here on this property, I went down 5 feet, and the concrete itself was about 2.5 feet by 3 feet by 5 feet deep. And I dug that all by hand because it was right in between. I ran a 800 some odd feet of line whenever I first bought this property. I put in multiple PVC pipes running between the house and the shop building and the storage building. And so that I had wires and water and communication and video camera stuff all running to all these different buildings. Anyway, it was 800 some odd feet of trenching that I did to put all these cables in. And the all that cabling, or a lot of it, ran right beside where I was going to put in that pad for the tower. And so I had to dig it all by hand because, you know, I was afraid to get in there with the backhoe and cut through some of those lines. And I buried most of them 2 to 3 feet down. Well, most of them are 3 feet down. So yeah, I didn't want to end up cutting through my power cable going out to the shop with that backhoe. That would have been a mess. You know, you were talking about having water in your underground PVC.
Yeah.
And sometimes that you can get moisture in there, water in there, simply because of condensation. You have your moist, warm air that has egress into that pipe at each end, and then it cools off underground and just solidifies and gets to be a puddle of water, fills up the tube.
Well, that could be it. I don't know. It got in there some way. I started, we were pulling the rope back the other way, and the rope was soaked with water. Then I hooked the vacuum cleaner on it and probably pulled maybe a gallon or a gallon and a half of water out of it.
That's a lot more. That's a lot more than condensation.
Yeah, that's more than condensation. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something.
It got in there somewhere, probably from the snow melt.
Well, the ends were taped over, I thought, but you're taping around, the cables were in there. So taping around the cables and trying to get the end of the pipe to seal off is.
Yeah. If it was covered up with snow and then or ice, when it melted, it got in there, I'm sure. Well, maybe you won't have that problem again now that you got it pretty well closed up.
Yeah, the end up of the house was the end that was still down at ground level.
Mm-hmm.
I had done, I thought, a good job with the duct tape, sealing it up, but that's probably where it got in, because that was down, actually it was in a little bit of an open ditch there. And that may have funneled the ditch may have funneled some snow and water into the end of it.
Yeah.
I hate to have water in there, but
It won't be long till you can hook that rotor up and try it out, huh?
yeah, I could actually, I've got enough rotor cables sticking through the wall here. All I have to do is put the connector for the control box on and I could be rotating the rotator.
Yeah.
In fact, I really do need to do that because I need to make sure that I had a piece of masking tape on there that marked north on the rotor,
Mm-hmm.
and it hasn't moved since then, but my masking tape's gone and I'd like to verify.
Yeah. Before you put it up.
Yeah. But I can, it's pretty easy to, on that adapter I made, I drilled and tapped that thick tube that the beam drops down into and put 3 5/16 bolts in it so I can loosen those bolts off and rotate the X beam if I need to.
Yeah.
You know, that was one of the things on the rotator that I marked it like you said you did, but here in Oklahoma, I found that it was better to have the stopping point pointed to the south instead of the north. And that really makes it a lot easier because more often than not, I'll be transmitting towards the west, northwest, or the east, northeast. And you can turn your rotator a lot faster if you don't have it stop in the north, so that you have to go all the way around from the northeast through east, through the south, through west to get back up to the northwest. If you set it up so that the turnaround point is to the south, well, then you can just jump from northeast to southwest, which takes about 15 seconds compared to 45 seconds if you go the other way around.
Yeah. Well, I could still do that. I mean, in fact, I could even do it after the fact if I decided I wanted to change it. You know, I can swing it down and move the hex beam and then recalibrate the rotator control, and could do that.
Yeah.
Well, and you can do this too on my EME antenna. The software has a button on there. You click on for park, and you can set park to be anywhere you want. So you click the button and it goes to that direction and stops.
Well, that's pretty neat.
For elevation and azimuth.
Oh, that's your moon bounce rig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bug out, guys. I gotta run down the hall and then get ready for the Aries net.
All right, Mike. Glad to see you.
Yeah,
If
good to
you,
see you, Mike.
If you decide to go to JS8 call, let me know.
I will.
Sure would like to know if I got a signal out there.
I could still listen for you if I couldn't receive you. I mean, decode you. I could still listen for you.
Well, yeah. We'll do it some other time. Maybe I'll watch another video and get this figured out.
Okay.
It's a perplexing thing. Just I didn't tell you what that I had it, or did I? Probably, I think I said it on the air. I've got a DMR radio coming.
Nope, I didn't know that.
It's also supposed to do, it's a dual bander and it's supposed to do analog also. So we'll see.
What radio?
It's the Anytone
878.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have one, but I've heard from numerous people that that's a great radio. One of the better ones.
And I'm also getting the hotspot package with it. So I think they're gonna load it up and pair it for me before it comes. We'll see.
Hey,
All right,
Mike, before you get out, I want to thank you for doing the MacNet in the mornings when you do that. That really is nice of you to do that.
You're welcome, Carl. I'll be at it again in the morning. Denny had it today, so we'll holler at you in the morning.
Okay.
No problem.
What's the MacNet?
Back when they were shutting down businesses here year and a half or 2 years ago, they shut down McDonald's, and every morning except Sunday, a bunch of the radio operators meet at the McDonald's on Lindsay Street in Norman. And whenever they shut McDonald's down, well, then they started up a net in the morning at 9 o'clock in the morning. And they just called it the MacNet because of the McDonald's net.
The McDonald's crowd.
Yeah. Anyway, it's still going on, even though they've opened up McDonald's again. They still have the net, MacNet at 9 o'clock. And it's just real impromptu. People just check in, hodgepodge. There's a lot of times around 30 people check in the mornings.
That's quite a few.
And they still meet at McDonald's every day except Sunday. It's almost like Elmer night, only it's every morning. Yeah, check it out tomorrow, 9 o'clock. Oh, it's on the Scars VHF band.
On the repeater?
Yeah. 147060.
Yeah. Don't have anything that operates on that kind of frequency, that high. No UHF. Low as I can go right now. Well, can't go anywhere right now till I get an antenna hooked up, but this only goes down to 6 meters. So does anybody use 6 meters very much?
Yep, and when summertime gets here, need to be on 6 meters because there will be some good openings. It's a lot of fun. June, July, August, September.
Ken, do you use vertical or horizontal orientation on 6 meters?
I have a 5-element 6-meter Yagi that's 55 feet up, has an 18-foot long boom. It's made by M Square. It is horizontally polarized.
That ought to do the trick.
I have worked a couple years ago. I even worked in Japan on 6 meters.
Well,
I've got 40-some countries, 48 countries on 6 meters.
if I could find a small 6 meter beam, I could probably put it down below the.
Yeah, you could. You could. They make a 3-element 6 meter beam. It's not very big.
A little Yagi.
Huh?
A little Yagi.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, that'd be one of those things. It'd be real easy to make. You know, it's only 6 meters. So
Yeah, the elements would be short.
yeah.
I designed one for a guy that lives over by Seminole several years ago. It was a 4-element 6 meter beam. I may still have the info on that thing somewhere.
How long was the boom? Do you remember?
It wasn't very long. I think it was like 8 feet or 10 feet long with 3 elements on it. I designed it with a old computer program years ago. it really worked good. His name was Cliff. He was pretty much into hamming and did a lot of DX, and tornado tore down his tower and everything, and he gave it up then. He never got back on.
Oh, really? Huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, if a tornado came through and tore up what I've got up, I might feel the same way
It'd
right
be
now.
pretty disappointing, wouldn't it?
I
Yeah.
might throw up my hands and sell it all.
So I don't know if I want to do that again or not.
It's something I sure wouldn't be looking forward to doing again. Just a lot of details you don't think of until you
Mhm.
get to that point.
Very time consuming,
Yeah.
but that's part of the chase, Bill.
Yeah.
That's part of
Yeah,
it.
my problem is just energy level. If I had more energy, I could get more done, but
Yeah.
I work a day and then rest for two.
Yeah. I have to do my work of a morning, and by noon I'm pooped.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of the afternoon. I kind of lay around in the morning and drink some coffee and try to get awake, and then go out about noon and work some in the afternoon. But anyway, it don't have any energy.
You know, speaking of work like that, I have some trusses, some metal trusses that I bought years ago, and I put them up next to a fence row, and I haven't used them, and I just stacked them all on top of one another. And of course, saplings grew up through them.
Mm-hmm.
And these are pretty substantial trusses. They're the bent metal is 5/8 rod that zigzags in through these trusses. Anyway, that I got out there and I started cutting those saplings out, and it was just dozens and dozens of saplings had grown up through all of it, and some of them had kind of grown into trees, and the tree trunk completely grew around the parts of these beams. And so I had to get in there with a saw and just kind of saw pieces out and take these things off one at a time. Well, I got down to the bottom one, and actually it was two short ones that I had used to stack all the rest of them on. And there was a tree trunk that was about 6 by 8 inches that had completely grown around this bar, and right at about an inch underground level. And so I got out the one of my battery powered saws, and I worked on that over the course of 2 days, and I spent about 2.5 hours sawing that loose so that I could get to where that bar was, and when I'd pull on it, well, then it would come out. And so after working on it a little bit for 2.5 days, over about 2.5 hours, I pulled on that, and I realized that somebody had cut that 5/8 rod, and it stopped short of that tree trunk on each side of it. And so all that work I did, and cutting it so that I was real careful to not get in there and get the saw blade up against the metal.
Yeah, and ruin the blade.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's the way it goes.
And everything, I had to lay on the ground to do most of it.
Oh, mercy.
What way you can look at that, Carl, is I won't have to do that again.
Yeah,
So is that
Yeah.
an Ameritron amplifier that you have up on the shelf there?
yes,
Which one?
it's the 1306.
What power is that?
They rated it 1200 watts at solid state, but it's actually 1500 watts plus. Yeah, it stays clean to 1500 watts, and I usually try to drive it at about 1000 to 1200, but it's actually a little bit difficult to keep it from popping up there to 1500 if you're not careful.
Which one is it, did you say? The
1306.
1306?
Yeah, ALS 1306. It's automatic.
Fan switch?
Yeah. Oh, it's an excellent. I love it. It's so easy to. I just spin the dial on the ICOM 7300, and the tuner follows it, and the amplifier follows it, and so I don't have to tune anything. I just dial the frequency up on the radio, and everything just follows it.
Been trouble-free for you?
Do what?
Trouble-free?
Yeah, trouble free. I haven't had any trouble at all. I take that back. The fan is loud, but apparently, I got one of the ones that they must have put a different fan in, or used different resistors in the fan RPM circuit. Well, it's actually a temperature circuit, and anyway, apparently I got one that something is off. Probably they put a different fan in than what's called for, because most people say that it's quiet unless they're really working it hard. And mine is just the fan goes on high all the time. But other than that, oh, it's great.
There might be a place in the menu to change that fan speed.
Yeah, it's not, it hasn't been a problem. Sometimes it's an irritation, but it hasn't really been a problem. And if I'm trying to pull somebody out and it's interfering, I can always throw those Heil Pro 7 headphones on, and it blocks out all the noise. Yeah, I decided to go that way. Instead of, I've got several other amplifiers over here. Heathkit SB 220, a AL 80A. That's also Ameritron, and yeah, this one's it's just nice to use, and you don't have to worry about messing up someplace, putting it on the wrong band or something or other, or forgetting to tune it and having something happen to your amplifier. And yeah, since it's automatic, it just does everything. Don't even have to think about it.
That's what I need. Something I don't have to think about. I've been trying to go through all the different programming functions on this FTDX10, and my God, there's so many menus and submenus and submenus. It's incredible, mind blowing. I've decided the best approach is to get familiar with the most important ones and then gradually learn the rest of them.
Yep, that's the way to do it. Just figure out the ones that you need to get started and go for it.
I think I could probably get it on the air and get it transmitting and receiving now, but there are sure a lot of different things that you can do with it. There's a guy on YouTube, you know, Ken, you said
Yeah.
go to YouTube, and I did. And there's a guy that has a 50-part series.
Wow.
He may be up to over 50 parts now on the FTDX10.
Wow.
And he does a pretty good job. I mean, he understands it and explains it pretty well. And demos it, demonstrates it to while you know, during the video.
That's better than reading the book.
Well, it probably is, because you can actually see the functions on the screen, and
Yeah, I think so. It's easier for me to do. I have to read that book 100 times to get it to soak in, but I can watch a video and get it the first time.
yeah. Well, one picture worth 10,000 words, right?
Yeah. That's what I had to do when I got this new Icon 9700. I just watched a couple of videos to tell me how to set it up, and made it a lot easier than trying to read that big old book. One thing, you got to find the part that you're trying to learn in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's the
Yeah.
book on the
Yeah. That's about like the book on this thing.
FTDX10.
Takes you 30 minutes to find the part that you want to study about.
120 pages.
Yeah. You know, you need to know where the mode switch is, and you need to know how to do the auto tuner and a few little things like that.
Yeah, it took me forever on my Icon 9700 to figure out how to use the scan feature. And you'd think that would be real easy. You just push the button for scan, but it's one of those things where you have to, you end up pushing about four or five buttons to get it to scan what you want it to scan. But then you've got multiple options on how you want it to scan, what frequencies, and it's real simple after I got it programmed, but it was one of those things that, yeah, there was a lot to work with. And it wasn't just real clear, because setting it up so that you can use the different numbers of, I can't think of what it is now, but anyway, you can set up your scan so that each frequency has a number, and if you want it to scan just certain ones, well, then you give them, like number 1, and then if you want it to scan those and some different ones, well, then you give those number 2, and so you have to figure out what it is that you want it to scan, and program all that in. And it's not real intuitive, and I just about have to go look it up every time that I add something or other, add another frequency in there, to because adding a frequency to that is a lot of trouble. Although I don't use a computer program like I can't think of the name of it. It's not Quark. What is that?
I know what you're talking about. A program to program your
Yeah, all your radios.
Mhm.
Oh, really? There's a program out there to,
Yeah, it's mostly for FM handy talkies and stuff,
oh,
so you
okay.
can program all the repeaters.
Chirp, chirp.
Chirp, that's
That's-
it. Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I haven't hooked up the ICOM 9700 program that works like chirp. And apparently that makes it a lot easier where you can just type all this
Yeah.
stuff in and send it to the radio. And
Yeah.
I do all my programming in the radio itself, and that's difficult.
Well, my 9700 is set up to do moon bounce, and I don't use it for anything else. Well, I have used it for satellite, but pretty much the same thing.
Ken, I started to ask you when we were talking about amplifiers and fritzing them, I started to ask you if you'd ever accidentally fritzed any of your amplifiers, but then I realized you don't use one now, but in the past, have you fritzed, you got the magic smoke out on any of your amplifiers in the past?
Nope, never. So far, knock on wood.
What was the word you were using there?
Fritzed,
Frisked,
fritzed.
frisk. Is that the same as letting the smoke out?
Yeah,
It's fritzed.
it ends with like TZ.
Starts with an F. FRITZ. Does that sound right, Carl?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
FRIZED, or I'm not even sure it's a real word, but
Is it kind of like fried your amplifier?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
knew what you meant, Carl. And it's not a pleasant thought when you let the smoke out. Well, I take that back years ago when I had tube amplifier, I had to replace the tubes, but no smoke came out.
yeah, just about everybody that's ever used an amplifier that I've talked to has let the smoke out of them whenever they first start using them, and usually had to replace the tubes, and a lot of times with the resistors or capacitors.
I never drive that stuff if they rate it for a kilowatt, I don't ever run it more than 800 watts. I had a M squared 1.2 kW solid state amplifier rated at 1200 watts. I ran it at 800 or 900 watts. I don't run them full power.
What brand was that, Ken?
It was an M squared solid state. Same people that make M squared antennas.
Oh,
They have one that's, it's a 2 meter. They make a 2 meter one and a 6 meter one, not in the same box, two separate amplifiers.
and what frequency were the amps that you were building? Were they 2 meter or
The ones that I built are 630 meter
630?
amplifiers. Yeah,
Oh,
long ways from 2 meters.
yeah.
The M squared amp, the 1.2 kW, I used it for 2 meter moon bounce. It was a nice amp. I only needed 10 watts to drive it to 1200 watts out.
Yeah, it's amazing how much gain some of those solid state transistors have. It just blows your mind.
So I used a K3 to drive down east transverter. The transverter was capable of 25 watts, but I only ran it at 8 or 10 watts to get full power out of the solid state amp. So everything was running cool. Nothing was being pushed.
But you only run what, like 50 watts on moon bounce now, or 100 watts, or?
Oh, I have an amplifier that I'm getting about 130, 40 watts out of.
But a lot of gain out of your antenna.
Yeah, I got antennas, forgot now, 20 dB gain.
Good.
One-
grief.
It's a pair of them, 22, 25 element Yagis hooked together.
You don't even have to put those up in the air though, do you? I mean, they can be ground mounted essentially, or
Yeah, well, I've got it on a tripod. They're about, man, I don't know, 12, 15 feet above ground. You got to have them up high enough so when you point them up in the air, back of
Yeah.
them don't hit the ground.
Yeah.
I had my 2-meter moon bounce. It was up about 25 feet in the air, but they were long booms. The booms on those antennas was 33 feet long.
Mercy.
They were big. It was a big antenna.
Home built?
Hmm?
Home built?
Well, the antennas were M² store-bought, but the H-frame that I put them on was all home built.
Yeah. Carl, how high do you have your hex beam?
It's at about 25 feet to the base of the hex beam, and then of course the hex beam itself goes up about, I don't know, 4 or 5 feet. So I'll say just shy of 30 feet, like 28 feet to the top of the hex beam. Although it is on a crank up pole, crank up fold over, and I can put it up to 60 feet, but it's one of those things that it's putting it up high like that doesn't necessarily give you any better signal. It's depends on the propagation, and it depends on where you're transmitting to. And of course that changes, daily, all the time. There are times and frequencies that, 60 feet, that it would work better. But for the average transmissions or reception on just daily, there's not enough difference between 30 feet and, which, by the way, since it stops at 20 meters, like 30, 32 feet is what you need for that anyway, height above ground. So there's not enough, there's no reason for me to put it up to 60 feet most of the time. It just, the wind hits it and stuff. And, we have,
Is it guy? Does it have guy wires on it? You have guy wires on it, Carl?
No.
Yeah, 60 feet would not be a good idea with no guy wires.
Yeah, not to leave it up like that.
Not in Oklahoma.
Yeah. And that's something else. That hex beam has handled the 115 mile an hour tornadic winds. And it's not uncommon to get 60 mile an hour winds out here in what they call 10-mile flats. And up to the last 5 years, there wasn't a tree for 2.5, 3 miles anywhere around this property. So it has withstood all that and 115 mile an hour winds and ice and everything. And it's I'm really sold on them. Plus it seems to work real well.
Yeah, I was telling Bill, I worked a lot of stations in Europe that's using hex beams. I look them up on QRZ and I can see their antenna, and a lot of them are using hex beams.
Yeah. Yeah, true. Yeah, we were talking about automatic stuff, automatic amplifiers, and right up there at the end of my finger is an automatic antenna switcher. And that I haven't got it fully hooked up yet because I don't have all my antennas up. But eventually that will plug into the system. And so as I dial the frequency on the radio, no matter what band I'm on, not only will the amplifier follow it and the tuner, but it will automatically switch between antennas.
Yeah,
I won't even have to.
Reality.
I've built one of them before, Carl.
That's the one.
Homebrew.
Continuous print.
It automatically switch antennas when I change the bands. Evidently, you don't have any audio. Evidently, he's wanting to talk to us.
It's over. It's over.
Yeah. We can hear audio in the room, but we can't hear you.
Leave all this.
Face,
Second one.
whoever's at the fire station, face the camera and see if the speaker is in the camera.
Testing 1, 2, 3.
Well, we can hear you now, but that's not the microphone yet. It's somewhere
Testing.
other than where you are.
Can you hear us? Well, he's hearing us.
Hold on.
We can hear the people in the room pretty loud.
Yeah, they tried earlier to get that mic to work and decided maybe the battery was dead or something.
How about now?
Better.
All right, cool. Hey, Carl, I got a question about cowers and hex beams.
Okay.
All right, so I'm looking at a RON 25 and talking to some of the other guys here, and they were saying that they don't recommend that you install it freestanding. Is that correct?
Ron
Ron
itself says that it's they recommend not over 35 feet freestanding.
Okay, cool. So that's about the height I'm looking at anyway. So, and Peter's here, and he showed me the link to a hex beam antenna that I'm interested in getting.
Hey, Carl, that's the one you have, right? The KI, that KIO hex beam.
Yes. Yeah, KIO. Yeah, yeah, we've been talking about that. That's it's withstood all this different weather and stuff. I really like this antenna.
What do you have it mounted on?
A crank up pole. It's setting at about, well, I'll just say 30 feet to the top of the antenna, but it can go up to 60 feet, but I never go up that way. I just leave it at 30 feet.
Wow, so that's a crank up. So it's a freestanding crank up.
Yes.
And you've had and yeah, I heard you mention earlier, you got no problems with the ice, and then down by the Tamil flats, you got straight line winds and everything.
Yeah, I've got a picture here. Okay, this is mine with some ice on it, and that was no problem whatsoever. Here's what it looks like without ice on it. And this is not my antenna, but back a couple years ago when we had that terrible ice storm, that's what my antenna looked like. It was all the spreaders were all bent like that. And then as soon as it thawed out and the ice came off of it, it popped right back up, just like this, just like nothing had ever happened. Matter of fact, I think this picture was taken after the ice storm, in which it looked like that.
Wow, the one with all the ice on it, that looks like a dog's breakfast almost.
Pretty impressive, Carl.
Find something else. And, really tough.
Looks like you guys have about 15 or 16 people there at the fire station.
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit more than a baker's dozen, so. So you say you have a crank up, basically a crank up pole, like a crank up mast. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
What is the pros and cons versus a rigid tower compared to something that you crank up?
I bought it used and it was everything that went with it was $300. And so it was, well, back to your question. It really is nice to have something that you can fold over. Like if you put a tower up or a pole, like this one is a crank up, but it's also a fold over to where it's hinged at the bottom and you can lay it over. And that really makes it handy unless you like climbing towers and I've fallen off of a 60-foot tower before, and it's that pretty much broke me of wanting to be on tall towers. So, although I've done a bunch of tower climbing since then, but I don't do it anymore. Of course, being 70 years old, that's makes quite a difference.
You don't look like you're 70 years old, Carl.
Yeah, well, thank you.
They don't want to.
I just turned 39.
Oh, I haven't showed you.
Well, you know what, Ken? You don't look like you're 39 either.
No, thank you.
I haven't showed you.
If you're 39, if
You
you're
lie a lot,
39,
Carl.
Ken, I'm 34.
Yeah. Yeah. Bill's getting
Hey,
close.
you haven't seen my new toy yet.
Oh, that's your new radio?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm liking this little hand, this Yaesu. It's really nice.
What radio is that?
It's the FT3D,
Ah,
and I got it connected to my Bluetooth. It works pretty good with the Bluetooth. It does. I talked to a couple guys on the road today, and they're saying that a modulation was coming in pretty good, and it was through the Bluetooth hands-free.
Well, tell me about the Ron 25 tower. Is it new or used tower pieces?
Well, I haven't located it yet. I'm still trying to decide whether or not to do like a rigid tower, like a Ron, or some kind of
It's Roan. It's pronounced Roan.
Roan.
It's a ROHN, Roan Tower. And I have Roan Tower. And
And
it comes
either
in
that
10
or
foot
some
sections.
sort of crank up pole or a crank up mast or something like that that can fold over. So I don't know what. I just got a very small footprint in my yard to put something in. So
No. My tower has hinged at the bottom also where you can lean it over.
Don't underestimate the work you're getting yourself into, putting that tower up. I'm just at kind of the end of putting up a 40-foot tower, and it's been a lot of work.
Yeah, they all got towers, you know.
Yeah,
They're good.
they all got towers, and I've got a dinky little Comet GP3 antenna on my roof. So
So how big is your yard?
the lot that my house sits on is about a 1/4 acre. So not that big for city, for a large tower or anything like that.
There's quite a few people that mount those X beams on their roofs.
I've seen that too, you put like a small mast on your roof, and there's a roof mount. I've seen several roof mounts, so yeah, I've seen that option as well too, and you definitely get it up pretty high if you're using the first 20 foot of the height is your roof line. I've seen that option as well too. I mean, that may be what I need to look at.
That'd be a lot easier than putting up a tower, I'll tell you for sure. There's a company, in fact, I think he's a ham, that makes a 3-legged, pretty heavy duty roof mount that would be probably really work nice with that hex beam. I can't remember who it is, but I've seen them advertised. I looked at them and thought about that, but decided to go the hard way.
There's a lot of companies that build that little 3-legged tower that bolt to the roof.
Yeah.
And you can even put a rotor in it to rotate your hex beam. I've got one on the roof of my house.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, I just got a 2-meter J-pole antenna on it.
Well, that would make things a little heck of a lot easier than trying to figure out a tower. Using the structure I have already to get that antenna up.
Matter of fact, I'm using one of them on my 70-centimeter moon bounce antenna. See, go to my webpage, you'll see a picture of one of them, or I think even on QRZ.com. This picture of it. Let me see.
All right. Well, thank you, gents. Thank you for letting me pick your brains tonight. So I'm just trying to look ahead. I mean, I've already picked out my HF rig. So I mean, I'm pretty sold on the FT 991 Alpha, that Yaesu, that all mode, all band rig. So that's the one I want to get. So
if you go to QRZ.com, type in my call sign, you'll see an antenna that has one of those little tripods.
All right, I'll look at that. I'll look at that tonight, Ken. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
You know, depending on what the wind loading was of your antenna, I've mounted some stuff on the roof like that using a tripod, and I ended up bracing it with some 2x6s on the in between the rafters, and because here in Oklahoma, our winds, you know, it'd be unusual to not have a 80 to 100 mile an hour wind every so often, and that would be something I'd look at.
Well, that's what I did. I'm using bolts that go all the way through the roof, through 2x4s that's inside the attic. So the wind's not going to pull it off. You can't just screw it on the roof. You're going to have to fill a hole in the roof, put a bolt through there.
And you're going to have to hit studs some way, whether you add some studs or.
Yeah, I added some.
Not studs, but some
2x4s across the
rafters.
Rafters, yeah.
I put 2x4s across the rafter and bolted it to that.
Yeah. That ought to do it.
Bracing on the back of the roof sheeting to spread that load over a greater area. So instead of just like one, where the fastener goes to, you have it with you have it like with a 2x4, 2x6 behind it, just running perpendicular to the rafters and spread that load over the roof sheeting. So yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect the roof sheeting to take any of the load. You'd need to tie some 2x6s between, or 2x8s, or whatever your rafters are between, perpendicular to the rafters, and screw into that. And not screw through the decking. You'll have to, but the decking won't hold anything load wise.
All right.
If I had my druthers between a crank up pole and a tower, I would probably pick a freestanding Roan tower that was the bottom mounted to concrete in the ground, and then the upper portion of it bolted to the eave of the house to support it up a little bit, and then and use that. And if you have that enough room or an area where you can actually have that lay over so that it falls away from the house, that's what I would do.
Okay.
Because that way you could work on it. It would be close to your house as far as like running coax and whatnot. And it's pretty secure if you have it mounted to some structural members up at the eave of your house.
All right, cool. Thank you. All right, well, I'm gonna get off here. Thank you for all your guys' suggestions, and I appreciate it.
All right. Talk to you later.
Later.
Be sure and mute that thing.
Yep.
Well, guys, I think I'm going to hang it up for the night too. I'm kind of pooped.
Yeah,
Been enjoyable talking to you.
yeah, we got a few things ironed out, I guess. Talk to you guys next
Yeah,
week.
this was a good Elmer night.
Yeah,
Sometimes we get to talking about stuff besides ham stuff, and this
Yeah.
night was good though.
I'm for staying with ham radio stuff.
Yeah, me too.
All right.
Okay, guys.
There's a big crowd over there at the fire station too. I
Yeah.
counted 15 or 16 earlier.
Well,
So, okay.
See you next week.
Okay. Later.
Bye.
good night.